Starting it off with the current thing.
The current thing.
Rogan asked daughter Peter Hotez to come on the show and debate RFK Jr. about vaccines.
I'm going to ask you, audience, did this jump from being very online to like the mainstream, other than the mainstream writing articles about it, which I think they did it kind of permeate the bubble
of the internet? I have no idea.
Certainly didn't touch Maggie.
It didn't touch me, but that doesn't say anything. When I went to look for stuff, there was a lot of stuff. It's a lot of people who like to get outraged about Rogan in general. And then, of course, vaccines are always a hot topic.
The short story of a long story is that Rogan had RFK Jr. on. For those of you who don't know who RFK Jr. is, to give you an idea of the absolute state of the DNC, he is polling higher than Biden in some instances, and he's kind of making a run for the Democratic. He's primarying the president, essentially, and he's doing a pretty good job, which shows you the state of this party, which is really not surprising given the people we have representing it.
This is a president that is committed to infrastructure. Yeah, and then on top of that, the dual kind of law of the inflation bill.
I was laughing because I knew that this was going to like blow people's brains, him being on in general. But RFK Jr. has had a lot of notoriously conspiratorial takes on vaccines, Wi-Fi, a lot of things that Alex Jones would probably agree with.
Yeah, he's kind of a kook.
Have the right to compel unwanted medical interventions on us.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
At this point, I trust JFK's brains more than RFK's brains, and I trust RFK's brains more than Biden's.
Please don't make me vote for Joe Biden. Please don't make me vote for Joe Biden.
So he came on and he talked a lot about vaccines. I'm not going to post any clips because even more treacherous and disturbing is the fact that anyone who's even posting a clip of this is getting demonetized, which is more terrible. Like the combination of the corporate and the government control with big tech being the police is effing terrified. We should all be terrified of that. And as much as I'm politically homeless, that is coming from the left.
You had Jacob Siegel on Walk-Ins Welcome this week. I just finished editing it yesterday.
This is the domestic use of military concepts and military technologies to protect us from threats. That includes, and I'm quoting, cognitive infrastructure, meaning
that is insane.
Meaning people's thoughts, the spaces online in which they form and share and disseminate those thoughts.
It is so deeply disturbing to listen to him talk about this.
And like he says, largely bipartisan.
Yeah.
You know, this is people who are just kind of letting this slide in both parties. But the control apparatus is primarily coming from the left, as well as the orders to kind of elevate certain people and make sure other people don't get heard at all. And you should definitely check out that Jacob Siegel Walk-Ins Welcome because he's brilliant. He wrote such a brilliant article for Tablet and I had to have him on.
The article is called A Guide to Understanding the Hoax of the Century.
So good. But this also just goes to show how these institutions have shred their credibility, that they're just thirsting for some kind of actual public debate. And they're willing to have like a celebrity death match over vaccines on Rogan.
Let's get it on.
Just so they can get some semblance of actual conversation about this. And then these experts and scientists like Hotez will be like, it's beneath me to debate. We don't take this science into these forums because it legitimizes conspiracy theorists. They're like, we debate this stuff in scientific journals, which have all, as we know from this show, have all been captured by an ideology. But even more importantly than that, and people have pointed this out on Twitter, I think it was Leighton Woodhouse actually, who's also also been on the podcast. He was like, the same people who are doing TikTok dances and using social media to push all of these vaccines and try and bully people into it, not to mention the president telling everybody that they were going to die if they didn't get it, not to mention...
Or kill people, right?
Kill people, both. Remember, he was like, it's going to be the winter of death. You're all going to die.
We are looking at a winter of severe illness and death.
Game over, man. It's game over.
The pandemic of the unvaccinated, all of these things, telling people they couldn't have a job if they didn't get vaccinated. There was no debate over this. People had questions. Nobody answered them. And now you're mad that Rogan wants to host two people to talk about it? It's bananas.
Yeah, and you were silenced if you asked any questions or had any pushback at all.
Just right now, when I was sitting down to do this, Robbie Suave, who's also been on our podcast, he was talking about how the lab leak theory is now, it's like basically come out as true. Not only that, it was funded by American taxpayers and likely with the research behind Fauci. So this, you couldn't even write this conspiracy. And anyone who even brought this up was demonetized, silenced, and kicked off social media. You wonder why people have no trust in any of these institutions. You have not admitted a single thing that you got wrong. So in terms of extraordinary bad takes and getting things wrong, you need to take extraordinary measures to restore trust. And nobody's doing that. You haven't even admitted you were wrong. There was that one article we were making fun of that's like, let's just move on and not have these like uncomfortable conversations.
And let's be clear, I'm not anti-vax. I believe in vaccines.
We're not that's the other thing. You have to predicate anyone defending people asking questions with, and just to be clear, I'm not anti-vax. We shouldn't have to state that we're not these things in order to ask legitimate questions.
That's a question. I'm asking questions then.
You're not some kind of fascist for asking questions. Don't let them convince you that that's true.
No, I reject the premise of this.
Stop accepting the labels. People label me right wing. People label me all kinds of things. Stop accepting that is true. You know what you are. Just because they're saying you're something does not mean that it's true for asking a question. And then Elon stuck his dick in it in Twitter and everybody was getting mad because Elon was like, yes, let's see the debate. People want answers.
You need to be brave enough to ask questions.
Mainstream media has absolutely lost all credibility and they can't handle it. They're trying to control these scientists who were dancing in the streets after they were like, it's a pandemic of racism. You lost your credibility and you think that it's owed to you because you're a scientist. And by the way, I believe in science. I believe in vaccines. I believe that they've saved millions of lives. I'm not talking necessarily about COVID, vaccines in general. I believe that the scientific method is very important, although a lot of these institutions have been captured by ideology, and that is undeniable. So don't let people bully you into submission. Fuck that. Fuck that.